One of the biggest questions I get as a realtor is whether you should buy or you should rent. And that's highly dependable on your situation. In today's video, I'm gonna break down the pros and the cons. I'm gonna run some real numbers and stick to the end because I'm gonna share a framework which will help you decide whether you should buy or rent. So let's dive in. Let's start where we are right now in 2025 here in Winnipeg. The average 2-bedroom apartment rents for $1,500 and $1,800, somewhere in the middle there. It depends on the condition of the building. Obviously, the newer the building is, the more expensive the rents are, and the location in the city. Obviously, the better or more safer neighborhood it is, or if it's in the south, for example, it will get more expensive as opposed to being elsewhere. On the buying side, the average detached home sits around $460,000. With a 5% down payment, which is the minimum, you'd be expecting to pay around $2,100 a month. That highly depends, obviously, on the interest rate you get, the taxes that the property has, and the insurance you pay. This number is very important because the gap between renting and buying here in Winnipeg is not as much like, let's say, Vancouver or Toronto. Let's talk about the advantages of renting first. So, for example, if you're new to the city, obviously it'd be wiser to rent first to get to know the areas of the city. Maybe you want to be closer to parks or schools, but you don't know the city in general or the areas. And obviously, maybe you want something like that is safer, or you want more family-friendly neighborhoods. So in that sense, it would make more sense if you rent first and then eventually in a couple of years, then buy ourselves as well. When we first arrived in Winnipeg, we rented first. We didn't know the city. We didn't know if we wanted to stay in Winnipeg. At the end of the day, we fell in love with the city and we'd end up staying. Also, the flexibility that gives you renting, it's unmatchable. For example, if you're just started a new job, then and you don't know if you want to stay in that job, it will make more sense if you rent. Or if you're still studying, then you don't know what to expect in terms of job position after you graduate, then it would make more sense still renting. Although there might be circumstances when you are a student and you can buy a home and then rent out to your peers. However, that's an entirely different subject. Another big advantage is that you don't want to be worried about repairs, taxes, or interest rates. Sometimes life gets busy, you're busy, and you don't want to keep up with the maintenance of a home, because obviously homes, you have to keep up with the maintenance, otherwise it doesn't make sense. So if you don't want to deal with that, then it would make more sense to rent. Not to mention the large upfront cost that goes with buying a home. Obviously, renting, you don't have that. You don't have to save up for the down payment. Just go rent and that's it. Apply and that's it. And the closing costs as well. So it can get up to 7.5% at least of the price of a home. So that could amount to 25 grand easily. So if you don't have that, or you don't want to spend that still, then it would make more sense to keep on renting. Another inconvenience for renting is that most apartments don't come with a parking stall. Or let's say that you have 2 cars, then you need 2 parking stalls, and that could range for $70 a month, and all the way up to like 100, 150, depending where you are in the city. Obviously, if you're in the downtown area, then you need to budget for more in terms of parking. And most of these parkades are in the open, so you're not able to park your car underground or on a heated space, unless you, of course, have the option and you want to pay closer to $200 a month. Now let's talk about the advantages of buying. So the first one I would say is you are able to build equity. So as you pay your loan down, you're building equity right there. And obviously over time, here in Winnipeg, the market's so stable that properties here appreciate 5% on average So you're building equity right then and there. The second advantage is that it gives you stability. So you can select a plan with a mortgage advisor that you always pay the same mortgage amount monthly. So you don't have to worry about that fluctuations. As well, there's like some options where it can fluctuate depending on the interest rate, but ideally you want to have that steady payment that doesn't change at all. However, on the rent side, every year rents go up. Even when we first got here in Winnipeg, rents for a 2-bedroom apartment, all utilities included, Riverview, it was $1,400 a month, everything included. Right now, that same apartment these days, I would say probably you'll be paying $1,700 to $1,800 a month to have that riverfront view with 2-bedroom apartment, everything included. So rents go up over time, whereas the mortgage stays the same, and at the same time you build that equity. The third advantage is that it gives you freedom to do whatever you want with your house. Either you want to renovate the kitchen, you want to change it entirely, you want to change the flooring, you want to paint the walls, you didn't like the colors, so just paint it. You don't have to ask for permission to a landlord to paint any wall. So you do whatever you want with it. Even the backyard, if you don't like the layout of the backyard, if you want to change the deck, you can do so. Just have to ask permission to the city, obviously. But other than that, you're free to do whatever you want. And last but not least, you benefit from that long-term investment. So historically, prices of homes go up 5% on average here in the city. It's different in different parts of the city and in the province, but on average, it's 5%. So a home that is worth $380,000 in today's market might be worth somewhere around $450 or closer to the $500 mark in a couple of years, or even in 3 years, 4 years. So you're buying, let's say, cheaper today than if you were to buy in 3 to 4 years. Obviously, it comes with maintenance. So you have to keep up with the maintenance. You have to pay the taxes, so it comes with other kind of responsibilities, but you're able to buy for a lower price a home today, as opposed to waiting 3 to 4 years and paying like $100,000 more. So let's do an example. For example, a 2-bedroom apartment rents for $1,500. So let's say you're paying $1,500 for rent, as opposed to buying a $350,000 home, detached home, with a 5% down payment, which would leave you with today's interest rates, which is like 3.99%. You will end up paying like around $1,600, $1,700, somewhere around there, plus $300 to $400 additional for taxes and insurance. So that'll give you like around $600 to $700. You'll end up paying $600 to $700 more for owning versus renting. However, you benefit from the long-term stability, long-term investment, and you benefit of having a home today and not paying more for the same home in 5 years. So let's talk about a framework to help you make a decision. So for example, the time frame. If you're planning to stay at least 3 to 5 years in the city, it will make more sense to buy as opposed to rent, because the capital appreciation and appreciation of the home itself would pay for itself. However, if you plan to stay less than 3 years, it would make more sense to rent, because that gives you the flexibility to move whenever you want to. The second decision maker is the finances. Do you have enough funds for the down payment or the closing costs, or even the emergency fund? You always have to save up a little bit for contingencies. Buying a home comes with a risk. Obviously, anything can go wrong with a home. Maybe you bought it and it has something that you didn't expect it would have. So you have to budget for those repairs in case anything goes wrong. You don't want to be stuck in a situation when you have to deal with repairs and you all stressed because you cannot get it repaired. You don't know how to do it. You have to hire a professional. Let's talk about radon gas. So you want to budget for maybe that, or you want to change electrical, or you want to upgrade the electrical panel. There are so many things that might go wrong. So you want to budget to have a contingency fund in any case. And the third factor, obviously, is the lifestyle. What kind of lifestyle do you want to have? Do you rather have more flexibility to move whenever you want to another place? Let's say you like moving between cities across Canada every 2 to 3 years. Well, then renting is for you. However, if you value more stability, you don't have to worry. You don't want to worry about your landlord saying to you that you need to move out at the end of the contract. Then buying is for you as well. If you wanna have control of your situation, then maybe buying could be best for you. Or you wanna have control of your financing situation and you don't want to deal with repairs or have a contingency fund on all of that, then it might be worth renting. So it highly depends on the person to make the decision whether to buy or to rent. In summary, in Winnipeg, it's better renting if you value more flexibility, or you're just getting settled in the city, getting to know the areas, getting to know the city. And buying is better for you in case you value more the control of your situation, or you want to build equity long term. The good news is that Winnipeg remains one of Canada's most affordable cities, so the dream of home ownership is much more achievable here compared to other major cities. Thank you for watching again, and see you on the next video.